Hello, Professor, and hello, everyone. I'm Imyat from Myanmar, and I'm a fourth year student specializing in tourism management in Kenya University. Most people think that students from tourism management love traveling, that's why they apply that major, but actually I'm not, because I've got car sick easily when I travel with car or boats or airplanes or something like that. So I didn't like traveling as too much, and I have no much memories about traveling. And I never thought that I would specialize that major also. When I graduated from high school, I applied the Korean studies, Korean language studies in university. But after 2 years, I've got the idea of how about studying in Korea. I think Korean and studying in Korea makes my Korean language skill improve, and I can make communications with other foreigners, and I can expand my knowledge as well. I decided to go to the study abroad, and my father and my parents always allow me to do whatever I want. And so in Korea, to get very new experiences that I didn't have in Myanmar. So I started traveling around the Korea, sometimes with Myanmar communities, sometimes with foreigners, friends, and sometimes like excursions done by the university. So among these places, I will introduce about 2 places that I've traveled. The first one is Vietnam. I went there in last 2 years ago with 30 Korean students and with 30 Korean students. We spent only 1 month in Hanoi University, and the travel purpose is like we have to exchange culture and language with the Vietnamese students. So most of our time spent with Vietnamese friends. Vietnamese friends are studying together or hanging out together, and trying to eat local foods and making conversations with the local people. That was so amazing. I think it is my first time. To get such like a huge experience of cross-cultural experience, and I explored the natural tourism resources closely. So that one is really unforgettable memories in my life. And the second one is I went to the Philippines. I went to the Philippines in this year, January 2020. Then the travel purpose is really unique because it was my first time traveling for volunteering. So we went to the small village, and there is no development in transportations and something like that. But the air pollutions, there's no air pollutions, and the friendly people and the fresh fruits and foods are really incredible for me. And I'm sure that it just only 10 days, but we've got strong connections with the local people and the children, because we have to taught the Korean alphabets and phrases to the primary students, Filipino students, and also we will play the Korean traditional games or something like that. So I think that travel is really meaningful to me, and I'm sure that experience and feeling would last long forever in my life. Well, for me, all of the topics in this class are really useful and interesting for me, and so I've got a lot knowledge about the tourism deeply. So to give any opinions for this class, the most interesting topics for me is the evaluations of the travel and travel tourism. As actually, I have learned that topic in my first year, but now I didn't even remember even a little things. You know what? Because I try, I try just only for memorizing and to get good grades. I didn't even try to understand. So that's why I think I forgot all the things easily when the exam is over. But now the professor gave a very crystal clear explanations and the main notes and explaining period by period like Rome Empire to the 19th to 20th century of the tourism. So I've learned that like the characteristic of the tourism and the evaluations of the tourism, the development of the transportations and the typology of the tourists in each period. So that makes it more understandable and easy to remember. So I think with a very well structured lecture and clear explanations make me feel the topic is like interesting and help me to understand. So I'm sure that learning a subject by knowing the background and the history make me more interesting and passionate about the subject. Difficult topics. Actually, all the topics I learned through this class is very useful and interesting for me. So there's no boring or uninteresting topics in real. But there's only one topic that I found difficulty in studying. That topic is from week 1, classification of tourists and travelers. I mean, I couldn't classify that difference between the travelers, tourists, and visitors. And also there is one times like non-visitors also. So although I'm trying to figure it out by looking at the definitions of each term, but it didn't help me out. So whenever I found the information in the internet or books and something like that, but I usually found the use of the traveler, and I found that the terms of visitors, non-visitors, and travelers are rarely used in those stuff. So in conclusions, one point is like they are repeating the similar vocabularies like traveler, non-traveler, visitors, non-visitors, and tourists. So that keeps me confusing. That keeps me confusing to understand. And another point I found difficulty is like I commonly found the uses of tourists than the traveler and visitor. So I've also automatically use the terms only tourists. So although I could classify the tourists, what is tourists, travelers, and the visitors and non-visitors, but there is no place to use the exact definitions of those terms. So I think that also made me forget easily things. Actually, I love preparing the travel journey project because I have a chance to look about like what kind of tourist I am and what makes me more enthusiastic about traveling and tourism, and why do I go travel, and also what kind of tourism I would like to explore. There are lots of tourism, right? So the good point here is we have to do our project after listening to the professor explanations and guidelines. So I think because of that one, we've got the clear directions for our travel project. And when we start, especially for me, when I start to prepare our travel project, I have to record my own memories, and I also need to research some informations. But I search the information not from the internet, but from my memories and my photo albums and my galleries, and sometimes from my friends, because I especially travel with my friends mostly. So because of that project, I think I feel like I connect with myself and the lecture very closely and deeply. So that makes me easily to understand and not to forget easily. I'm 100% sure it's a better way than memorizing things. Actually, I prefer the way the professor teaches. Like, first we have to listen to the professor lecture, and then we need to prepare the presentations of the related topics based on our own experience and own experiences. So I think that way is one of the best way to in learning. So I don't want to change the class times, but although I have to give and other opinions is like I want to go with the peer-to-peer approach. Let me give you an example. Like, let's make a pair of 2 or 3 students in a group, in one group, and each group have to search the current issues about tourism. So that happens in real world. So I think in every week we focus on each issues deeply and in detail, and make brainstorming together. So to get a possible solution. So I think that we will can improve our creativity and the interest about the tourism management, tourism, and the also current issues. And the final one is like we can develop our teamwork also. And the second idea I've got is like role play approaches. The topic will be the preparations for the tourist guide. Actually, there's no subject like preparation to be a tourist guide. So we also don't know about how to communicate with tourists, and how to communicate with the tourists, and how to respond to the tourists. And what kind of manners should we need to prepare, and so on. I think that will be a little bit interesting. Let me give you an example. Like the class time will be the take lecture fast made by the professor, and make a pair of 2 or 3 students in the group, and one student will be the tour guide, and the rest will be the tourists. So we can make simulations of tourists and the tour guide. I think that will be more interesting, and we need to create own scenarios. We need to write down the dialogue each and every of the sentences, and I think that stimulation increases our teamwork, and got variety of knowledge about the very new topic, tourist guide. I hope that would be a small help for the change of the class time. Let me stop my video here, and I really appreciate for your attention and time. Thank you very much, Professor.